Hello, it's Katie Parker. Today I'm going to be showing you this necklace design which is in front of me here, and we're going to be going through how to create this design right from start to finish for the masterclass. So included in your kit you are going to have everything you need. The only extra things you need is some thread and some needles. What we've got are the pink potato pearls, which are absolutely beautiful. We've got some Miyuki size 11 seed beads, and the colours of these are grey Ceylon and dark amethyst gold luster. And then we've got these amazing round duo beads, which I've had the pleasure to use just a few weeks ago, and they are fantastic. And these are in an ancient gold colour, and the size of these are 5mm each. So these are a 2-hole bead, so it's a round but it's got 2 holes in it, so you can see that there. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility for different ways to use them. So the needles that I've used size 12 beading needles by Beadsmith, and they've gone through everything perfectly fine. There are a few points where we're going to have multiple passes through, so that's the reason that I've gone with a size 12. And the thread that I've used is Wildfire, and it's the white coloured Wildfire. I like this for the strength of it, and I think the colour works well with the beads that we have. Okay, so let's get started. I'm just going to move a few things out of the way, and I'm going to show you how much thread and how we're set up to create the first piece. So I've already pre-threaded this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a length of thread. So the length of thread is going to have to be quite long to start with. So if you look here, I've got a stop bead, and this section just here at this side is probably around about 60 centimetres there. So I've put my stop bead 60 centimetres in, and then from there, so you're going to measure 60 centimetres, and then from there you're going to get 2 good arm lengths, so another kind of 3 meters or so. Okay, so I know it's a lot to deal with, but we are going to be using quite a lot just because I want to build up the sides of this central piece, build up the sides and build up the other side. So this thread at this side is actually going to be making the necklace part that comes around this side, and then you can see we've got the beginning of the design here, and then I've already started building up that design for the necklace part there. So what we're going to do is we're going to be threading some round duos on, and then 3 seed beads. So the seed beads that I've chosen to use, the way that I've done it is a round duo. Pick up any colour because all the colours work so well together. Then I've picked up a amethyst colour, the grey colour, and then an amethyst colour. And what I've done is I've done that until I've got 20 round duos on there. So not including the bead at this side, so eliminating that bead there, I've got 20 round duos with 3 seed beads, 3 size 11 seed beads in between each one. So that's going to be the kind of baseline for our necklace design. So we're working on this top line here, the very top line of the necklace, and that is 20 round duos with 3 seed beads between each one, a amethyst, a grey, and then another amethyst. Okay, so once we've got to that stage, because our thread's in the right position, we're going to continue and make the rest of the side of the necklace at this side. So if I just pull this in this direction, I've already started threading for this. So just as a continuation on, we're going to thread 10 of our grey Ceylon seed beads. And then as a round duo, you can see I've only used 1 hole of those, and then again 10 around duo, 10 until I've got 1. Not including the last one here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got 8 extra round duos which are not included in that 20 there. Okay, so now what we need to do is attach our clasp. So to attach a clasp, we've got our clasp and everything in our kit, which is sterling silver. So I'm just going to grab those. So in your kit you will get a pack of sterling silver findings just like this, and you will find in there you've got clasps and you've got jump rings, everything you are going to need. So I've got a clasp and a jump ring there, so I can just pop those back in for now. So that's everything we're going to need. So you're going to attach your clasp at one end and a jump ring at the opposite end. Now what you need to do is take some pliers and just look at your jump ring just before you kind of get started, and make sure this is fully closed, because we don't want to pick it up and it be open. So what I'm doing is I'm holding the jump ring at this side, on my left side, and then I'm going to hold with the right side and just give that a wiggle and kind of just make sure that that is fully closed and it's all together, that your thread is not going to be able to get through. And I usually kind of just give it a little tap, not squish, just a tap that way, and it'll just work hard on it slightly, just to make sure that that jump ring is in perfect condition to be able to be used with thread. So we're going to take a look at attaching that clasp now. So let me just find my needle. Here we go. Right, so the part where the clasp attaches is here. So we just need to make this extra little bit of a design feature here to attach that clasp. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up of the grey seed beads 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've picked up 5 seed beads. So what I'm going to do is with the grey seed beads, I'm going to pick up 5 seed beads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seed beads of the, and then what we need to do after that is pick up 6 of our purple, our amethyst. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add that jump ring that we just made sure was nice and closed. So I'm going to come through the jump ring and pull this down as well, and now I'm going to come down 2 of those grey beads, so the kind of first 2 coming back towards this round duo. So, and then pulling this through. And what that will do is that will create a little space. So we've got that little space for our jump ring to sit in. And what we just need to do is make sure everything's pulled quite tight in the other direction, and then pull this down so that everything's sat in place. So we've got a good consistency of tension all the way through. And now I need to add another 3 seed beads. 1, 2, 3 of the grey, and then I can come back down the opposite side of my round duo, so the opposite side to the one we used previously on the way up. So, and then just pulling this through so that we've got that little design detail. It's like a little cross in there, and it's coming away from the round duo. We've got that loop and our jump ring is in there. Right, so now all we need to do is continue all the way back down. So because we added 10 at one side, we're going to add 10 again at the other side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I think a cheeky one just jumped on there. Yep, so we've got 10 beads on my thread and through the next round duo, and that's all we're going to do all the way back until we get to that baseline that we made for the actual necklace. Now as time goes on, as we're making this, we will find a point at some point to come all the way back up here and back down just to re-strengthen it, but we don't need to worry about that just at the moment. So our thread has come all the way up around and created that loop detail at the top, and we're just going to continue that back down. So I will meet you back here when we get back down to this bead here. So we've come all the way back down, adding those 10 beads in between each of our round duos, and I've exited the last round, well, the first round duo if we're heading in this direction. So we've still got this original 20, and this is my, if I'm working in this direction, I would call this my first one for now. So what I want to do is create a duo in between here, but I don't want it to be sat in the same direction as these ones here. So these ones, the holes are sat horizontally. The next section I want to put on, I want the holes to sit vertically in this direction. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to add 2 of the amethyst size 11 seed beads. I'm going to add one of the round duos. Then I'm going to let that drop all the way down. And then I'm going to come back up the round duo, so using the opposite hole on the other side. I'm going to come back up the round duo like so. Don't worry if it's not tightened up yet, it will do in a few seconds. And then I'm going to add my extra 2 amethyst seed beads and then come through the next round duo in my original baseline. So, and I'm just going to pull all that together and then just encourage it to sit the way that I want it. So what you might have to do is kind of pull that thread at the bottom and then pull everything in. And now I've got this little triangle shape, and I know that my round duo is now sat with the holes vertical rather than horizontal. So I'm going to do that all the way along. So I'll just do another one for you and then we'll skip across to the end there. So picking up 2 amethyst, a round duo, let that drop down, come up the opposite set of holes on the round duo, pull that through, and then pick up 2 more of your amethyst colour and through the next round duo. Now, one thing I should have said right at the beginning is, as you're working along, when you're adding all these round duos, just remember to check that both holes are free, because sometimes when they're adding colour, sometimes you can get a little bit of colour stuck in the holes. Now, I haven't had any problems with these round duos at all with the holes being fully sort of filled in, but sometimes you just kind of need to free them a little bit, like that one, and I just pushed that through and it's gone through fine. So it's not a problem at all, but just make sure, just because it's a little bit soul destroying if you've come all the way along and then all the way back and then you find one that you can't get through. So we're just going to continue doing that all the way along until we've got all of our little pieces filled in, and then I will meet you back here in a few seconds and we will continue on. So now I've worked in all these little triangles of beads all the way along, and all of my round duos are now sat, this bottom line are sat with their holes vertically. So now what I need to do is add the next row, and the next row is adding pearls. So we're going to add a pearl underneath each one of these round duos, which is why I wanted the holes to actually sit vertically, so it's going to sit in the right direction for the look I wanted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change direction, and we're going to be kind of adding them sort of in this direction, around in circles. Okay, so we're going to continue using the thread that we've been using. I know we've got a long length here, but that's going to be used mainly to make the other side of the necklace. And I'm going to come up around and through the top of this bead. So I've come out of the bottom, my thread's exiting the bottom row of this top row, and I'm just going to come through that top, through the next 3 seed beads and through the next round duo, like so. So I'm just going to pull that through. Just be careful when you come through that very first bead that you don't include this little seed bead here, because that's just your stop bead and we don't want that to be part of this. Then we're going to change direction and come back towards this one. So I'm going to come down through the bottom of that round duo and right down through. So I've come through the bottom part of this round duo, just come up through the top, and then I'm going to skip down onto the bottom until we've come down right to the bottom, and now we're in a position where we can add the pearl. So to add the pearl, we're going to add 3 seed beads. I'm going to use in 3 of the amethyst, then pop your pearl on and another 3 amethyst. Then you're going to come back up the opposite side again. So you're just going to go right through to where you just started. So through the round duo, through the 2, and then back up to here. So right exactly where we just started, we just made a full circle. Now it looks like it's probably not going to sit right, but once you pull it in, you'll find it just sits really nicely underneath there. Now we need to proceed to the next one. So we're going to follow that bead path again. We're going to go all the way through, and this time, so I've come all the way through to where I've just been here, and this time we're going to go through to the next round duo, so all the way through and through the next round duo, pulling this through, and then I can skip down to the bottom of that round duo and proceed all the way down to the bottom of this one here, so that we're right on that bottom line again, and again adding 3 of our amethyst, 1 of our pearls, and another 3 of our amethyst, and then back up the opposite side like so. So we're coming all the way back up to the opposite side of the round duo and proceeding back up towards that top line again, pulling that in, and then I'm exiting out of this round duo here, so I can skip up to the top of it again and through the next 3 seed beads, through the next round duo, and I've completed that next circle. So all these passes of thread are actually strengthening the piece as well and making it sit a lot nicer. So now I can think about adding the next one. So I can come through the next 3 seed beads, through the next duo, like so, and then come down to create the next little section, so I can skip to the bottom of this round duo and then all the way down, so I'm coming out vertically at the bottom here. So we're just going to continue that all the way to the end until we've got all of our pearls sat underneath. So it's just a matter of just really methodically going through each one and making that kind of circuit around each one of those round duos, adding the pearl and coming back through and round back to where you started again, and then proceed to add the next one. So I'm just going to finish this one off, so pulling that back through, adding the pearl, and if it doesn't sit right, just give it a little wiggle and a little tug and it will sit right. And again, it's stepping up at the other side of the round duo, proceeding back through. So this is why I chose to use a size 12 beading needle, because we're going to have many passes through size 11s as well, so it'll just make it easy for you. If you haven't got 12, you can use a 10, but a 12 will make it easier. Okay, so now I've got to that point again, I know I can proceed to the next duo and start working on that one. So my thread's exiting here, and then I can start working on the bottom of this one. So like I say, we're going to add one to every single one of these, because we started off with 20 and then we went in between each one of these. We'll have 19 pearls to add because we're going in between each one, and that will also give you that nice focal point in the middle, because a nice odd number gives you a kind of central point to focus on. So I'm going to continue adding all these and I will meet you back when I get to this end. So I've worked my way all the way back, adding pearls all the way along the way I just showed you. So, and my thread's exiting the top row. So I've come back through, round here, back up, and it's exiting the top row here. Now, because we started with so much thread, you would think that you would maybe be able to make the whole thing with all that thread. But this does eat a lot of thread, so I've only got probably about 30 centimetres left of this piece of thread. So this was about 3 meters long, just to make this section here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some thread. I'm going to show you how I add thread. So I don't want to add it here because I think it's too obvious here, and I'm going to start working down towards this bottom piece anyway. So I'm going to skip down to the bottom of this round duo, and I'm going to come out of the bottom of it there. So this is the point where I'm going to add thread, because I think that will hide quite nicely there. Obviously, if you've got enough thread, you don't need to add thread, you can just keep on going, but you would need around about sort of 80 centimetres or so to get to the other end of this in the next section that we're going to do. So I've got my thread in the position I want it to, and the needle's still on there. I'm just going to pop that in the mat just for a second, and I'm going to pick up another needle with another fresh piece of thread, and so this has probably got about 1.5 meters on, so I know I've got plenty on there. So what I do is, I'm just going to move that out of the way so hopefully it'll focus. So what I do is I come about 6 inches down the thread at the end, so this is the end of my thread, and then I can make a loop. So I just grab, so take a couple of inches and push them together and make a loop. Now with the actual length, so the working side of my thread, tail's in my hand here, I can bring this up and under and through and create a little sliding knot there. And then I can just pull that through so that I've just got a little loop there. So if you need to kind of rewind and watch that back, that's fine if you're watching on YouTube. So I can bring this back in now. So this is my new needle that I'm going to be using, and this is the one that I've just been using. So I'm going to pass that needle up through the loop that I just made. Just pop your needle into the mat for a few minutes, and I'm going to tighten this knot, this sliding knot, around the original thread and hold the thread at the same time. So I've got the tail of the thread is here, the new thread, this is the new thread, and that's the old thread up there. And if I just tighten all those together and pull those nice and tight, that's kind of created a knot in that little section there. So I've come down away from my knot through those 2 amethyst seed beads, through the duo, and now I'm just going to do a little kind of a skip across and down the other side of these amethyst beads. So I'm coming down those 3 at this side. So it is a little cheat, it's just a little skip across, but there is already a thread bridge there, so it's not really going to be recognisable in the finished piece. And then just pull your thread through like so. So you're not really going to be able to see that little bit of a thread bridge there. So I'm just kind of got to keep those threads out of the way for a few minutes, and then in between each of these we're going to add one of the grey beads. So I'm just going to pick up one of the grey 11s and come up through the opposite section of amethyst size 11 seed beads, and you'll see this will just kind of pinch them together and draw them together like so. So now they're attached to each other. Now I can come back down through that round duo and through the seed beads at the bottom there and attach my next one. So it's just adding that little grey bead and then coming up through those 3 seed beads and up to that super duo there and pulling that through, and that will join that together and bring that together like a netted design. So I'm just going to come down through that same round duo that we just exited and through to the bottom. I'm just going to leave that there just for 2 seconds while we just look at those threads that we just added. So you can see it's kind of bringing that together and it's all sitting nicely, because at the moment it kind of sits a little bit higgledy-piggledy, but by adding that little grey seed bead in between it'll start to sit really nicely. So we're going to come back and just have a look at where we added our thread. So what I normally do is I normally add my thread and then just work a little bit of the thread in, the new thread, and just come away from it a little bit. And then all I need to do is just follow the thread path around and finish off kind of wherever I want to be. So with this thread, what I would do is I would kind of come up the other side of that round duo and then work this thread up towards the kind of clasp area, and that's going to give me sort of a nice far enough away finish off to just cut off the new piece. So working my way up and away from there, and then I would add a needle into this little piece, this tail piece, and do the same in that. And you can tie knots as you go as well, so you can tie knots. So you can see that thread is exiting there. So what I can do is I can come underneath all of this and then through that loop that I just created, and that will just tie a little knot, just give that a tug. It'll just tie a little knot over the thread, and then you can work away from that, and do that a few times as you work along. But it's just working your threads in and trying to follow thread paths as much as possible. So I'm just going to show you once more just about adding that little bead. It only takes a second. So just picking up one of your greys, and then it's just kind of following this little loop around the next one here. So it's just a matter of connecting these all together so they all sit nice and pretty together. So I'm just going to continue on and work my way to the end, and I will meet you back when I'm at the opposite end of the piece with all of these connected together. So now we can see that shape really forming now, and we're getting that beautiful pattern. So I have finished that bit. I'll just go over what I did with these threads here. So I worked these threads, the ones that I added, up to the clasp and back, and I've tied them off together quite shortly, and then just worked them into the design. So then you can use some nice sharp scissors right into where you need to cut, so you get a really nice short cut. So these are the Fiskars scissors. These are fantastic, and they go to a really, really nice tip so that you can get right into little nooks and crevices and get a really nice sharp cut. I don't know whether you've ever tried to cut fireline or wildfire with your flush cutters or something like that. If you're generally a wire worker, it doesn't cut very nice, and it leaves kind of a really frayed end. The other thing that you could use is your thread zapper. So you could use your thread zapper to cut your threads too, which is another great way of getting a nice clean way to cut your threads. So we've got sorted that side out. Now we need to start adding some more. We've still got that very long length on here with the stop bead on. Don't worry about that for now, ignore that, because that's where we're going to be adding the other side, so the opposite side to this. So now we can start working back down along here. So just because it's easier for me, I'm just going to flip this over. So I flip this over and I'm working from this end just because it's easier. So my thread is exiting those 3 seed beads at the side of this pearl. So this is a very, very easy part. All we're going to do is come through the pearl and pull through, and then just pick up one of our round duos, checking that the holes are not blocked as we've done with all the other ones, and then adding that in between. So it's all just a matter of working all the way along, just adding these in between each time, just making sure you check those holes that they are free. You can usually kind of see if they're not going to be free, but like I showed you before, they do clear out quite well. So that one looks like it could be, no, it's fine. But it really is worth just checking every one, because like I say, if you've got to kind of go back and do them all again, it's not fun. So working all the way along until we get to the opposite side, and I will join you there in just a few seconds. So just filling all those gaps in all the way until we get to the opposite side. So once we've got to the very end, adding these round duos, which I'm just going to point out that it's especially important that we use the round duos for a design like this, because any other round bead wouldn't sit like this. We need that kind of top drilledness. So you wouldn't be able to get it to sit nicely in between those pearls if it wasn't the round duo, and then we wouldn't be able to add the design on the bottom, because there would be, if it was just a single drilled round, we wouldn't have that extra aperture to be able to create an extra design. So these round duos are absolutely fantastic for really kind of evolving your designs and being able to take your ideas a lot further. So now what we need to do is change directions. Now it is a little bit difficult to change direction in this way, but we're just going to kind of do a little skip. So we're going to come, I'm exiting out of the end of this pearl here, and we're going to come up through the 3 amethyst beads, seed beads, the size 11s, and up into that round duo and pull through. what I'm wanting is to be exiting at the bottom, the other side of this bead here. So what I could kind of do a big kind of circuit and all backwards and forwards, but to be quite honest, we've got a lot of thread through there at the moment, and what I tend to do is just come back down. So back down that round duo and through those bottom 3 seed beads. And because we're using this colour thread and we're at the side of a pearl, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of come through. I've just gone through to the back just so that it's kind of sat on the back underneath, and then I can come through the bottom of here, no problem at all, and it's totally invisible. You can't really see that little cheat that we just did there. So now I'm in a position where I can start adding some more seed beads. So nice and simple again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So I'm adding 6 seed beads and going to the next round duo. And we're going to do that all the way along to the opposite side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, one of the other things that you could use, the other thread colours that you could use, would be a green wildfire. Now, the green wildfire is fantastic for disappearing, especially when we're using these sorts of colour tones, these like coppers, and it's kind of got that illusion of greens in there as well. So that would be a really good kind of alternative to using the white thread. And even down the side of that pearl, the way that we've just used it, it would still kind of blend and disappear into this. So we're just going to continue all the way along, adding 6 seed beads in between each of these round duos until we get to the other side, and then we're going to add that little bit of extra detail, and then we can make the other opposite side. So I've got all the way down to this side, and now we're just going to kind of make a little pattern round to get in the right position if we can do. So I'm on the bottom hole of this round duo, so I'm going to come through the top hole part of this, so through here. So I'm on the top row of this now. Now I'm going to come up through here. I want to get back down onto that bottom, so I'm going to come all the way around, and then I'm going to come through the opposite side. So it's kind of a bit of a trek round. So what I've done is I've worked my way all the way up here, and I've got back right up to this corner, so it just takes a few seconds to wiggle that through, which is why I just skipped through that a little bit. And then what we want to do is create so that we're actually going to come through this pearl and through, so we're in the kind of right direction. So it might just take you a couple of minutes just to wiggle your needle through, because it's quite tight up here now. And don't forget, you can always use a pair of pliers if you want to kind of just pull that thread just gently. We don't want to damage the thread, but pulling the thread through with the thread, or if your needle kind of feels really tight on there, you can grab your needle with your thread, with your pliers, and pull that through and gently, and that will help you immensely. So we're going to come through this pearl, and we're going to skip down to the bottom of that round duo again. So we're on that bottom line again, and we're ready to start our last section of the main piece of the necklace. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to come down 3 of those 6 beads that we added. So down 3, and we're just going to add that little point on the end. So nice and easy, just pick up one of the alternate colours, which is a grey, and through the next 3 seed beads and through the round duo and pull through. And what that will do is we'll add that nice definition, that point there. So down 3, so we always, if you're ever doing this kind of adding a kind of detail of a point, like a picot or something like that, we always need a even number, and then we go back through and add that central one. And because we only had an even number to start with, the distance is a little bit shorter, so it kind of creates that definition by adding that extra one in, rather than just adding maybe 7 beads to start with and then it would just sit in another loop. But adding that extra bead with that tension as well that we've made, for because we only left enough room for 6 beads, it creates a more of a focal point on each one. So creating all these little points all the way along and working all the way back along your design. So just making sure we don't loop anything in. And you can see already there the difference. So these are just kind of loops, but these have got that nice definition to each one. So I'm going to work all the way along here, and then we'll get to the end, and then we'll start working on the other side of the necklace. So as you can see, I proceeded all the way along here, adding that extra bead and giving that definition, that detail all the way along the bottom. And I've exited at the pearl at the opposite end. Now with this thread, all I need to do now, because this side is complete and finished, all I would do now with this side is maybe run this thread up here and back down again, just to give even extra security, because the thread's there, so we may as well use it. And then that side is absolutely finished. Now we can move over to that side that we began at, which had the stop bead. So I've removed that stop bead, so just make sure you do remove that stop bead first. And just like we did at the beginning, I've threaded all of these on. So I've got 8 of my round duos, and not including the one that's on there. I've got 8 on here, and in between these there are 10 size 11 seed beads in between each one. So I'm just going to go through just really quickly how we'd made that loop for the clasp, and adding the actual clasp this time rather than the jump ring. So I added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the size 11 seed beads, and then I've added 1, 2, 3. Now I added 6, but because the loop in the clasp is a little bit smaller there, I'm adding 3 because those beads won't go through, and then popping the clasp on and then adding another 3. 1, 2, 3. Like so. And then I'm going to come back down 2 of those silver, those grey size 11 beads. So I've created that little loop again, but this time I've made sure, because the one at this side, it will just sit in that little circle because it's a larger hoop, but the clasp is actually a little bit smaller, so we just need to make sure it's going to be sat in the right position. So I'm just going to give that a little bit of a tug where the clasp is, and then pull that back. And now I just need to add 3, 1, 2, 3 size 11 seed beads, and back through the opposite side of the round duo. And then it's just a matter of working my way back again. So it's adding that 10 seed beads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and through the next one. And this side you will have plenty of length on this piece, because I think we left about 60 centimetres, 50, 60 centimetres, so that we can come up and down this side a few times with our thread and make sure it's really well finished off, because this is the part, especially on this loop here, so we want a couple of times around that loop at least, just to make sure that it's got a lot of strength there, because if there's anywhere on your piece of jewellery that takes kind of the strain, it is the clasp. So the clasp is going to be against that thread, and we want as much strength there as we can possibly get. So once you've kind of finished all that, you will have your piece finished. So you will be left with your necklace ready to be worn, like so, with all that nice detail across the bottom, and a nice kind of necklace design for going around the neck too, and it sits really nicely on the neck, and even if it twists, it still kind of looks really, really pretty. So, and I'm just going to show you the other little pieces that I made to go with this kit. I made a little tiny mandala pendant as well, so that's again using the super duos and using the fact that we've got those 2 holes through them to be able to get them to sit really nicely next to other beads, and it creates a beautiful design. And again, being able to frame little beads like so, using those round duos as well. And then I've used the actual the crimp covers from the kit to make myself some sterling silver beads to get. So there you go, you can see those there. So thank you very much for watching, and take care, and I will see you again very soon.